Today on Fresh or Frozen, we are tackling the cheesecake. The question that comes to mind when I see this is why? Why would you buy this? This is probably more expensive than if you were to make your own cheesecake at home. Cheesecake is probably one of those things that, especially what the recipe we're gonna show you today, is one of those things that's actually really easy to make. So I don't know why someone would buy this because it just doesn't look appetizing. And desserts are things that are supposed to make you really happy and be at the end of the meal, really that cherry on top, or something you look really forward to eating. I highly recommend you just making it at home. First thing we need to do is prepare the crust. So for that, very simple, you have some Graham crackers that have been ground to a dust, and we're gonna mix it with some brown sugar and some butter. I like using brown sugar here just because it gives me just a more kind of softer crust. What's really important is to melt the butter. Some people will put kind of like room temp butter here, but it'll be much easier to mix and form with melted butter. It's really important to do this ahead and before you actually do the whole mix, because we want to make this and then put it in the freezer so that the crust sets a little bit before we go ahead and basically put in the cheesecake mixture. That's exactly what we're looking for, kind of like this wet sand texture. To make it easier to then remove the cheesecake once it's set and ready, we're just gonna go ahead and wrap the bottom of your springform pan with some plastic wrap. So we have our crust good to go. This goes into the freezer to set while we work on the mix. I'm not gonna go crazy with this. I'm gonna keep it very simple. We're gonna be using some cream cheese, which we're gonna mix first with some white sugar. The granules of the white sugar will help smoothen and break down that cream cheese. Really key and important, something I do recommend you guys doing, is you take out the cream cheese from the fridge at least 30 minutes in advance so it gets nice and soft. The whole point of this recipe is to keep things nice and soft and supple. After that's been mixed with the sugar, we're gonna add in our vanilla essence, a little bit of lemon juice and sour cream to get that really nice cheesecake, tangy kind of flavor that we're all used to. And eventually we're gonna fold in our soft peak Eden cream to that mix as well. Go ahead and add cream to our mixer, and then just to get it to the texture we want, we're gonna add some powdered sugar as well. So you've probably seen this like millions of times, but you know it's ready when you can basically do that and kind of put it over your head and it just doesn't fall. So hard enough. You're not looking for like perfectly smooth peaks here, obviously, because we're not baking anything. This is really just gonna set slowly in the fridge. So now to make sure we keep that aeration and we keep that lightness, we're gonna mix our whipped cream into our cream cheese filling. So you wanna do this nice and slowly to make sure we're not losing that air that we worked so hard to get, that the machine worked so hard to get. I didn't do anything, I pressed the button, that's all I did. We are pretty much done. So all we need to do now is assemble, so we're gonna get our crust out of the freezer. So you'll see that now, when you touch it, it's nice and hard. So like I said a while ago, this ensures that when you cut it, you won't kind of like crack it. So we're gonna go ahead and gently put that mixture over the crust. You'll see how kind of like nice and jiggly and fluffy it is. Okay, a couple of options that you'd be presented with at this point is most recipes for a frozen cheesecake will tell you to put the cheesecake in the freezer, clearly. But I find that that temperature shock is basically counterproductive to all the time we spent in adding air into the cheesecake. Once you freeze things, that's it, there's no turning back. We're actually just gonna keep it in the fridge for a minimum of 6 hours. I really do recommend 12 hours if you have the time. And then once you're at that point, if you wanna then get it a little harder, then you put it in the freezer. But in the meantime, just in the fridge, and you can actually eat it that way too. But then we're gonna quote unquote finish it like you would finish in an oven in the freezer for just 1 hour. But make sure before we're doing all that, we wrap everything tightly with some plastic wrap. So I know size doesn't matter, but in this case, I think it really does. If you look at both of them, we're not gonna compare them like this, because obviously this looks heftier and is bigger. We're gonna cut slices of both of them just to see kind of like that difference. Like I said a while ago, we put this first in the fridge and then put it in the freezer, simply because I want this. So when you bake a cheesecake, you always get kind of like a dip in the bottom, and I actually quite like that because you don't want your cheesecake, especially if you're not baking it, to just taste like cream cheese, because ideally, obviously, you're just taking cheese and you're mixing it with sour cream and then cream and stuff, so in your head, you're probably thinking, oh, okay, it's probably just gonna taste like cream cheese. But if you do it properly with the process that I showed you in terms of making sure you're using whipped cream and then going from fridge to freezer, you have then a product that has a nice texture. So I'm gonna try this one. I'm gonna give this a chance. I'm gonna give it a chance. It should be good, right? I'll be fair, flavor-wise, it's actually okay. Texture could be better. The crumbs, crust, no bueno at all. Let's try mine. I like getting the chunky part. Night and day. I won this 100%. Martin, come join us. I just want you to tell me I won. That's what I want you to do.
Please tell me you made this one.
Yeah, I made this one.
Size, yes.
Did I win?
Yeah, definitely. The crust is, there's additional bit of texture, and I felt like granules of brown sugar, and the butter's better. Because of the sugar and the amount of butter that's combined with the graham crust, it didn't really go mushy, even if it was like overnight in the fridge for like 6 hours. Well, this one, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, there's just no texture at all on the crust.
I wonder what the size of the box is, because it's just so small.
It was tiny.
I mean, they had the opportunity and they missed it. It's so far.
Yeah. So, to close, Martin.
You win.
Thank you. What's our PSA to people?
Make your own cheesecakes.
Done.
So easy.